when you're trying to actually deal damage output and get some mobility going. I mean, summons don't really reduce your mobility and your ability to focus down certain units. Of course, it does make it a pain because they have more crap running about, but, whatever. So, yeah, if you have silence and you use it, once again, don't get surrounded. Yeah, that's just sad. He should have used the Blade Master to windwalk in there and do the whole windwalk glitch thing, which is where you can pop your unit out of surround by pretty much putting your Blade Master right on top of your Dark Ranger and popping them out that way. Anyways, what was I saying? Something about... Oh yeah, silence. Silence is always good at tier 2 because not only can you silence heroes, but you can silence the Sorks as well. So yeah, basically it's a good way to fend off the tier 2 push, or at least try and gain enough of an advantage in like the first couple seconds of their push that you can get the sorcerer's kills anyways, because they're only going to have like 2 or 3 when they push you. Sometimes 4, it depends how late they push you and when they push you and who they are and what map it is and all this crap. So it really depends how many sorcerers they're going to bring, but generally it's not many, and you can generally pick off like at least 2 or 3 by the time silence ends. So despite losing the early game advantage of, or despite losing his advantage of the, the fact that he lost a grunt early game, which is not good because you need those for peasant focus and all this other stuff for tier 2, but he also lost his hero twice, his second hero twice, obviously. So, that's a huge disadvantage, especially when, you're fighting uphill against imbalance. And actually on that note, I'll talk about imbalance because this is going to be a little creep frenzy and the basic orc picking off various creep kills and items with, stuff like windwalk. That's why you keep dust with you, by the way. Anyways, balance issues. A lot of people complain about imbalance and they say imbalance this, imbalance that, and they don't really know, like, specifically what they're talking. They just know that, oh my god, human is so imbalanced and they're slow and their towers and their summons and all of this other crap. You know what? The point is, like, sure, there are imbalances in the game and, like, it is possible to lose from imbalance, but there's always the fact that you can actually play better than the way you did in that one game that you lost because of so-called imbalance. So, if you actually think about it, you could have played better, right? Like, especially for the average listeners, like, if you're pro and you're listening to this audio commentary, not only is that kind of weird, but whatever. I support it. Cool stuff. I love audios. I listen to them anyways, even though I know lots of stuff and I usually don't learn much. They're just entertaining. Anyways, where I was going with that, I don't know, I lost my train of thought. But anyways, continuing on with my balance point. Generally, if you're not like pro, or if you're not at the high level where pretty much everyone's fairly equal, and the only thing that really puts them apart is not only their race, but their decision-making in games as opposed to their micro and their timing, because obviously if you're pro, your timing's probably impeccable. I mean, sure, then imbalance actually has an effect, but until then, you could have played better, and there's really no excuse for not playing better. I mean, well, there is. I mean, sure, you could just be like, well, I suck. Obviously, I'm not good enough to play better yet, and I'm still working on that. But, like, the fact that you can work on that is a good thing, because it means you have progress to make. And the fact that you can overcome these imbalances by playing better, I mean, sometimes you get a huge advantage, and people do lame crap and beat you, so you lose to stupid crap, and it pisses you off. You throw stuff in your room and swear at people, and they don't know why you're swearing at them, because they don't even know you play Warcraft in your spare time. Yeah, that's a no bueno. But when talking about imbalance, you have to remember that if you're not pro or really good, being able to come over imbalance is a lot easier for you than it is for them. So pretty much imbalance has a lot less effect on, your actual games than a lot of people give it credit for. What just happened was a basic battle, which is, he attempted to get a trade of TPs in there, and one thing to really know how to, or when to try and trade TPs is basically use your Blade Master to scout and then kind of split up your army and follow their army with your Blade Master. And obviously, if it's a small map and your Blade Master's pretty quick, you can just kind of sprint there, or you can buy Staff of Teleportation if you have a lot of gold, and kind of whip your Blade Master over there pretty quickly. But yeah, attempting to trade TPs on this map is not only risky, but you really have to be keeping track of your opponent, because on this map, they can pretty much creep out absolutely anything except the red camps early on. They can creep out the Goblin Merchant, they can creep out the Gold Mine, they can creep out the Fountain of Melt, they can creep out a variety of green camps, and you really have to keep track of your opponent, especially because you need to know what you can use and when. Like, you need to know when you can use the Fountain of Health. I mean, you don't want to just blindly run units there and be like, oh, I think they crept there, I'm going to send something there. So, you know, use your Blade Master to actually not only figure out where they are, but to figure out what they've crept. Also, don't leave peons behind at the Fountain of Health that are just going to die later anyways. Thought you should know. But yeah, anyways, as I was saying, trading TPs on this map, just use your when you decide you feel like you're going to trade TPs with them. Basically what you do is you run your Blade Master and you find their army first, and what you do is you creep your way to their base while you're doing this. Very nice move by Fnatic Elfie. If you look at Minimum's Gold Mine, thought I'd point that out for you guys. Anyways, what you do is you find their army first, and if you don't find them right away, just creep around their base. Not only does it give you an advantage later on when you're trying to make them turtle in their base, because you know, not only like if they don't have an advantage and they're kind of afraid to engage in a battle, they're not going to go on long distance treks just to get some creeping done. I mean, obviously they're just going to like stick in their base and try and creep what's local. So, you know, if you don't find their army right away, just creep one or two camps, and if you still don't find them, just go ahead and rush into their base, because obviously if you can't find them, they're probably either going to your base or like really far away or in a really odd location, and you should be fine to TP trade that way. So, yeah, there's that. One thing that's great with the Dark Ranger, and I'm just going to point this out, is that on Twisted Meadows, you can actually creep out the red spawn point camps right when your Dark Ranger comes out. You might be thinking, no you can't, that's retarded. Well, what you do is you just kind of rely on the fact that silence has, you know, area of effect, and what you do is you silence the 2 Ogre Magi. Basically, like, if you don't get those two, it's going to be really hard to creep. But you silence those two and the Troll Priests, and you're pretty much good to go, and you'll probably end up creeping those pretty early, and you'll get a pretty sweet advantage when it comes down to it. So, if you will take a look, Fnatic Elfie is not only short on gold because, you know, he's been spending money on healing scrolls as opposed to other stuff, but he's also got a smaller army, and I thought I'd point that out for you before you enter into this this epic battle of minimal proportions. Now, one thing that you really have to realize what you're doing with the silence action is you have to make sure that you get their priests, especially if they have dispel. So one thing that you're doing when you're positioning is just click the priest and be like, okay, it's adept training, I have to be kind of careful with my silences. That's pretty much all you have to do beforehand. Also, a really nice strat by Elfie, which is getting the retrain tome and surprising them with a nice blizzard. That's one thing to be aware of, is that if it kind of gets this late game in terms of battles and stuff, just be aware that they could retrain, and that if, you know, well, you obviously can't tell if they're in low upkeep or not by just like looking at their army, but you can make an educated guess as to whether they're in low upkeep or not, and if they're not, if you don't think they are, and they've been sitting around for a while, and you have like a 60 food army, chances are they've either really hoarded up on healing scrolls, or they've done a retrain scroll, or they're trying to set up an expo, or they've been really stupid and lost a whole bunch of units creeping. So really, that's one thing to be aware of, is that when you're entering in battle, not only is it good to know what upgrades their units are, but also what items their heroes have. And that's the one great thing with Orc, is that you have the speed scroll and ensnare at your beck and